Thank you for the kind words. Salam alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan fi Ginebra. It will be a pleasure to inform you about the GCC financial centers. And we, of course, have to start with Bahrain. Bahrain, which became a financial center because of the problems in Beirut, in Lebanon, which was the financial center until the start of the civil war. Bahrain was an ideal successor because they had the laws in place already to receive all these various financial institutions. And until 2004, they were the undisputed leader as financial center in the Gulf. Several hundred banks and insurance companies, asset managers were there. But most of them were there as representative offices, trying to get the money and put it afterwards in the Western Hemisphere. The Gulf War of 1991 and the low oil prices in the 90s then caused some of them to leave the region and to serve their clients, be it out of Europe, be it out of Singapore, Tokyo, and other places. And then new financial centers came up with especially the problems with 9/11, where suddenly the Arabs were not so welcome anymore in the West. And the Arabs responded by saying, well, if you don't want us, then we take the money back. So the money came back to the Middle East. And the question, of course, is always, what do you do with that money? There were not that many investment possibilities. It only started with having investment possibilities with real estate projects. And then we had the increase of oil price, and suddenly new financial centers popped up. So we had the biggest, the first one in 2004 as new one, the opening of the Dubai International Financial Center. And very uniquely, they said that everything is in English and also that it is under common law. Not the local laws, but common law. And they even had their own courts with judges from UK, Singapore, and some local judges as well. So the Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, is a free zone. So foreigners can hold these entities without any problems. And they said they fill the gap between Europe and the Far East. Being a Swiss, it was kind of embarrassing because it was said to fill the gap between London and Singapore. Geneva and Zurich and Frankfurt was not even mentioned. So it was just London and Singapore, and they started to fill the gap, and they attracted many, many companies to try and do something with it. They facilitated privatizations in the region, and they also started doing some initial public offerings. What kind of services are offered there? Well, banking services, common, then asset management, fund registration they have, reinsurance, Islamic finance. And interestingly, with Islamic finance, they not only want to concentrate on Islamic finance, but on Islamic trading, Islamic activities in general. They also want to become a center. I mean, now I'm not talking just of the DIFC, but the UAE in itself, a center for Islamic trading, halal products, and so on. And family offices, they are welcome there, back office operations. So there are plenty of activities accepting and receiving. And there were several hundred European financial service companies who have established a presence there. But interestingly enough, most of them are not booking centers. Most of them are in asset management, but the assets are not held in the region. They are held in Europe, in Singapore, in Tokyo, and other places. And just recently, Abu Dhabi has announced also their free zone, which will be a global marketplace, mostly for energy, oil and gas activities, renewable energy, carbon credit they mentioned. And they said it should open towards 2014. We will see whether it is really the size and has the activities and the spirit of being a competitor for Dubai Financial Center. Then Qatar, of course, also has their financial center. It's quite a copy of the DIFC, and it's also started with the similar people, with the same people which have started the DIFC in 2004. What we can say there, it is not a free zone, and mostly those who are setting up a presence in Qatar, they set it up because they want to go for the resources in Qatar itself. Usually you don't set up in Qatar to go to India, Pakistan, Africa, and so on, which you would do if you set up in the DIFC. Mostly we will say, well, the UAE, of course, is kind of a small country. What we are setting up in the DIFC is to go to India and so on. With a flight of 3 to 4 hours, you cover a population of about 2 billion people, so it's a huge market. Also, Saudi Arabia has now King Abdullah Financial District, also tries to attract financial institutions. and it's a huge size. It's the size of London's Canary Wharf, so a huge possibilities there. Kuwait, Oman, well, they're mostly served out of Dubai and Bahrain. Bahrain, we should not forget, is still a very big financial center, and I would also say it's a financial center where probably most of the companies have some financial profits. I'm not so sure whether the companies in the DFC, whether all of them are in a profitable region, whether they reached it. What I also would like to mention is there are some other free zones which could be of interest for financial services in general, like the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, the DMCC, which is a huge center for especially for commodities, but also for family offices, management services, and so on. It is a region, or has the possibility of accumulating about 100,000 people. 80 high-rises have been built there, or on the way to be built. And I'm very proud to say that there is also the Swiss Tower, which you can see here. And this Swiss Tower is a very special Swiss tower. As you know, in Dubai, everything needs to be the biggest, the tallest, and so on. And this is the tallest Swiss tower in the world. It's, of course, a lot taller than the Château d'Eau here in Geneva, and a lot taller than the Prime Tower in Zurich, and we hope that it will continue like that. And it also expresses the confidence of the Swiss, the private sector in that region, which has had the idea of building this tower. And in the middle of the crisis, in 2010 it was finished, and now it is in a very good shape. There are plenty of double tax treaties between the UAE and Switzerland, and there is also one with the UAE and Switzerland, which is very interesting, especially for withholding tax. But the withholding tax can be reduced from 35% to 5% if a UAE company holds more than 10% of the Swiss company. So it's quite interesting, those possibilities. Well, we are a law firm. We are assisting in the Middle East. Whoever has some questions concerning this area, we are welcome to assist you. Thank you.